Hello again, pre-algebra students. Today we're going to talk about two-way tables, which is actually kind of one of my favorite things to teach. It's like every single problem is a little puzzle to solve. It's part of our like reviewing or talking about how data is related. So we're going to be talking about two different categories, but instead of having a scatter plot like we talked about in the last lesson, we're going to be looking at how many people voted for one thing versus another thing, for instance. This is also a topic that always shows up, at least a little bit, on the 8th grade forward exam. So let's take a look at what these actually look like. This isn't what all of our two-way tables look like, because usually we have totals that are also included in here. And in a question on the forward exam, for instance, they might give it to you like this, and you would have to find your own totals. So in this, we have boys and girls, and we're looking at if they like milk, water, or juice the best. Just some data that doesn't really matter. We're just looking at some information that we could get for a graph or for gathering this data. So when I ask how many boys are in the survey, what we would have to do then is add up the total of that column. So 5 plus 3 is 8 plus 2 is, there were 10 boys that were included in this. And for girls, we have 6 plus 2 plus 1 would be 9. So how many boys were included in the survey? There are 10. How many girls were included in the survey? There were 9. How many chose each type of drink? This is where I would get the total for the rows then. Columns go up and down, rows go sideways. So a total for milk would be 11 people chose milk as their favorite, 5 chose water, and 3 chose juice as their favorite. Now, what it doesn't ask you to do here is I could also figure out from those row and column totals how many students they asked. So if I add up the total from the boys and the girls, that would give me 19 students total here. And if I would add up the total from the rows, from the different drinks, 11 plus 5 is 16, plus 3 is 19. I should always get the same total when I add the rows or the columns. This is more like what we usually see for two-way tables with some missing data. That this is where my puzzle kind of comes in. So I want to find all the missing numbers, and then I want to be able to answer the question about how many people like Star Wars but dislike Titanic. So if I see this information, I can see that they asked 200 students total. That's why I've got that 200 in the bottom left or bottom right corner. If I look at the people that they answered that they like Titanic, I have 50 or 70 and 50, which would be a total of 120, so that they like Titanic. With the information that I have, I could also figure out how many people, I keep saying students, I'm sorry, people like Star Wars or dislike Star Wars. I have 50 plus 50, that'd be 100 people that said that they disliked Star Wars. Using those numbers then, if I'm looking at the totals on the right, if there were 100 people that disliked Star Wars and 200 people were asked total, that means that that would have to be a 100 right there. And across the bottom, if 120 people liked Titanic and there were 200 people asked total, that should be 80 then for that total. And the one missing number should be the same no matter if I'm looking at a row or a column. If I'm looking at what I have to add to the 50 to make the 80, that would be 30. Or if I'm going across the top and I say 70 plus what number gives me 100, also 30. Now that I have that, I want to be able to figure out how many people like Star Wars but didn't like Titanic. So in the like Star Wars, that's looking at this row. Disliked Titanic would be this column. So this is the number that I'm looking at there. So 30 people said that they liked Star Wars, didn't like Titanic. And by the way, all of these tables, all of these two-way tables are just some random numbers. It's not like I asked 200 people if they really like Star Wars or Titanic or whatever. So for this example, I have all of the individual cells, but I don't have any of the totals. So I have some questions to answer here. But I guess we can start with that before we get the sums of the rows and the columns. For A, it says how many students are in drama but not in sports. So in drama would be this column right here. Not in sports would be this row, so that intersection would be right here. That's 32 students that are in drama but not in sports. Not that you really need to draw these lines and arrows, but I'm just trying to make sure that we can communicate this well. For B, how many students participated in both drama and sports? So yes to drama, yes to sports, that would be right here. That's 14. And then when it says to find and interpret each of the entries for the sums, for the rows and columns, that's saying right here, if I would add up the drama numbers, 14 plus 32 would be 46. That number is the total of the students that are in drama. When I add the 36 and the 18, that would be 54. That's how many students are not in drama. And then if I go ahead and go across the rows, 14 plus 36, that would be 50 are in sports. 32 plus 18 is also 50. And again, that number is the number that are not in sports. Now, if I add the total either for the rows or for the columns, either way, I get 100. That means that they asked 100 people for this survey. In this one, the more challenging kind of problem is when I don't have any of the numbers there for you. You have to be able to read this information and fill in the entire table yourself. There are 184 students who completed this technology survey. This is clearly an old survey. A total of 105 students text messaged their friends, and 84 seventh graders who did the survey, and 38 of them also use email, construct a two-way table. So right now we know this is really not accurate information, but 184 students were in this survey. That means right here, 184 is my total of everything. A total of 105 students text message their friends. So that means for the text message total, I have a 105 right here. There were 84 seventh graders who did the survey. So out of the seventh graders, the total of them would be 84. And of those 84 students, 38 of them use their email. Again, old data. You guys are hopefully checking your email, everybody. Now that I've got those, I should be able to fill in the rest of this table. So if I look at the seventh graders, I had 84 total and 38 of them used email. The ones that used text messages would be 46. Then, since I know that the total for the text messages was 105, I could figure out the number of eighth graders. If I would take 105 minus 46, that gives me 59 right here. And, well, the total for the eighth graders would be pretty easy. There were 184 people in the survey, and 84 of them were seventh graders, so 100 would be eighth graders. And if I would do 100 minus the 59, the text message, I would get that 41 of them email. Now, if I add the email total, I would get 41 plus 38 should be 79. And if I double check the 105 plus 79, that does give me 184 for my total as well. Today's worksheet is two-way tables. Most of these, or in fact, all of them, you're finding missing numbers in the tables, and then there's a question in every one of them. It'll say, you know, find this one number. So it's really, can you figure out from the table what piece of information I'm looking for? Because today is going to be the last day of the quarter, there's not going to be a learning check. So finish up the worksheet, check it with the answer key, let me know if you need any help, and I will see you soon.